So TVL basically is, I would say, mostly an indicator of trust, right? The more TVL a project has and the longer it sustains it, perhaps the more trustworthy it is, right? People know and use Aave because it's huge. What's the TVL of Aave, right? $7 trillion or something insane. Like, it's huge, right? And that's sort of like indicative of it like ossifying into like a trusted state. And the same thing's sort of like applicable for Railgun, but there's also another dynamic there for Railgun as well. See, what's happening mechanically is users are depositing into a private address within the smart contract, right? So they have their own private little safe, if you will, and they can put money in it and transact with it. You know, they can have their ERC20s, their NFTs, whatever it is, right? And they could transact those, you know, isolated balances. But in order for there to be a dark forest, if you will, for people to obfuscate their transactions or sort of like hide amongst the other users in protocol, there has to be other users of the protocol, and they have to be equal or larger size than you, right? So, you know, today I think like the protocol does something like $300 million to $600 million in transaction volume a quarter, and that's really quite healthy for most average users. That allows them to do, you know, a transaction of $10,000 or something like this, and, you know, have a pretty good privacy set. And so like privacy and TVL sort of, you know, go hand in hand, and that's sort of where like the, you know, I would argue like the moat for these contracts really is like over time, like this compounds on itself, right? As the TVL grows, as the transactions grow and more transactions happen, that privacy set increases, right? And so the amount of privacy that you're afforded by the protocol is really quite great. It's sort of like probably in part, you know, back to slightly earlier in our discussion, why it took so long for the protocol to gain a lot of traction, right? If there's $100,000 in the smart contract, and historically there's only been $1 million of transaction volume, it's really quite hard for people to use. But now, you know, you see things like Vitalik putting 1,000 ETH in, you know, Railgun and, you know, disappearing off into the ether. So yeah, it's definitely got something to do with it. The more TVL, the better.